Hi, it's Tanya at Ceramics Canada, and today's project is a wall plaque. Specifically today we're going to make a wall plaque for Father's Day. I took my clay and I rolled it into a thick coil. Then I tapped my corners or my edges to make it a little more oblong in shape because I kind of want that squarish shape for my wall plaque. I've got a couple of guides on each side. They're about a half an inch thick, and then I'm going to roll. So one roll, flip your clay, quarter turn, and roll. Flip your clay again, a quarter turn, keeping those dowels underneath, and quarter turn again. So you can see I'm kind of keeping a squarish shape. Now I'm going to flip over and do the other side, a quarter turn each time, just to kind of evenly push those particles of clay all out and stretch the clay nice and evenly. If you don't have dowels, you can, eyeball it, but the dowels help to keep a nice even thickness. I've gotten as thin as it'll go with the dowels. I'm just going to do a couple extra rolls for good luck. And now my clay is the right thickness for what I want. I'm going to use an old key card for a hotel room key, or you could use a credit card or debit card or gift card, an old one hanging around. And you just want to hold that and you want to spread your fingers around it, and you just want to move that clay towards you by pressing firmly from one side to the other, smoothing out the clay. Flip it over, do the same to the other side. If you have any little air pockets, now's the time to catch those. If they don't pop on their own, which I don't seem to have a problem there, you can poke with a kebab stick, that it gives you a nice smooth clay surface to work with. I really like the organic shape, so I think I'm gonna just keep mine a little more on the organic side, but to you, whatever your fancy is. It's not rocket science, it's just a fun, nice little wall plaque gift for Dad. I like to smooth over my edges with a piece of plastic. So if you have a piece of saran wrap, just place it over your clay and then just run your fingers over the edge. That helps to round them and smooth them so they're not sharp. And then I'm going to flip over and do the same to the other side. So I have a nice piece of clay, nice blank canvas to do my plaque. Now, I'm keeping things simple here today, but you might have stamps at home, found objects, things that you might want to press into your clay, lace to give texture and a background. You can use whatever you have handy. You can keep it smooth and add your texture with using colors. I'm going to keep mine nice and smooth, I think, for this project. So you can see it's a nice organic shape. I'm going to decide what way do I want it to hang. I think the best way for me will be to hang so that I've got a good landscape and lots of room to decorate. If I were to hang it this way, I wouldn't have as much space for lettering and things. So this is the side I'm going to choose. I am going to engrave into my clay, and you can use a kebab stick. You can use the handle of a brush. You can use a pen if you wanted. Let me just show you the different ways on this extra piece of clay here. A pen is going to give you a narrow mark. So if you wanted to do the letter, say D for Dad, that's going to give you a narrow lettering. If I were to use the end of my brush, the handle, it's going to give me a smoother, wider letter. Okay, and you could use a kebab stick or a skewer. There's two ways of using that skewer, with the pointy end, and that's kind of going to give you like the pen look, or the flat end, and that's going to give you more the brush handle look. So whatever way you decide, you always want to make sure that you smooth off any of the extra clay that comes up, and if you happen to fill it in, just take your utensil, whichever you chose, and go back over until it's nice and neat. Okay. All right, so now we have an idea of how to do our engraving. Before I do my engraving, I will show you as well, if you wanted to do it three-dimensional, or dimensional, not so much three, but dimensional, roll some clay and then shape into the letter you want, if you want it. Another way of doing lettering, sorry, I'm working upside down there. So that's a good way to make lettering, by joining it together like that with a coil. Or again, you could smooth out a hunk of clay. And it can be thin because we're adding it to the plaque that's already got good thickness. And then you could cut out the letter you want. And again, you want to smooth off all those rough edges. Otherwise, when they fire, they become sharp. So you could add letters to your plaque, and maybe that's what we'll do instead of engraving. We will go the whole, let's add letters. So I want them all around the same thickness, so all I did was take a hunk of clay and then I pressed it down with my palm of my hand, rather thin. And then with my pointy end of the kebab stick, I drew out my letter. So this time we're going to do an A. So there's the beginning. And I want to kind of keep it around the same size as my D, so I'll just line that D up so we get an idea. And then an A. Take out this part, and then this part. So there we go. And I'll smooth off all those edges before I attach them. So there's our D and our A, and we need one more D. So let's squish out some more of that clay, put it back together into a ball. Then if you work fairly quickly, the clay doesn't dry out too much, but if you take your time, it might dry out a little bit, so keep that in mind. The more you play with it, the more it dries out. So this time I kind of want to match my D, so I'm going to put my D on top and just trace around so I get something kind of equal size. Looks good. So you just draw out the center, so again it's around the same size. Take that off, and I'll cut out that middle. Okay, so now I've got my letters. So now is the time for me to smooth. You can use a little bit of water on a finger to smooth off edges, but I warn against the water because it does end up becoming muddy if you get too much on there. But just a tiny dip in the water is more than plenty. I like to use a small brush as well to help get into those corners. So there's one nice smooth offloader. Let's do the other. Again, I'll smooth first with just a barely wet finger. Smooth off all those edges. And then I'll use the brush to get into those areas that my finger doesn't quite fit. Just to give that nice, clean, finished look. Okay, that looks pretty good. And the same here with the last D. You know, you could be making this for Grandpa, so you could cut out the letters to make Grandpa. Whatever you decide you want to put on there. Maybe you want to make it for yourself, for your room. It's a simple, easy project that can be as detailed as you want or not. So there, they're all smooth over. Now we want to add them to the plaque. So to add them to the plaque, we want to score with the pointy end of the kebab stick on the back of the letter. Just a little crisscrosses, and take your brush with a little bit of water, and we just kind of want to rub it over those little crisscrosses until it kind of builds this little mud bath slurry there. Then we're going to place it. Just want to measure here, see how my centering is going to be. Maybe I want to move it over a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to press it down gently, and then I'm going to lift it up, and I can see where the letter is. So, kebab stick, just score where those are going to go, where the letter is. You can see the shape, the outline of the the D, slurry it up with some water, and then place my D back on. And here I just want to kind of rub it gently back and forth till it starts to resist a little. And that's what we wanted. If once it resists, we know the glue is, the water that we've used as a glue is working. And then we can take just that soft brush and smooth around those edges. And then just if there's excess water, we can take a sponge just to smooth it all off. So there is our first letter on. We don't want it popping off when it goes into the firing, so we want to make sure it's good and attached. So once you're happy with it, move on to the next letter. So again, same thing. This one you can probably see a little bit. Let me lift it. Where the A was before I even scored it. So that kind of saves us a step, because we can see where we need to score. But if you don't, just score and then slurry up with a little bit of water, not a lot, just enough to make it gooey into a little slimy mixture. And because I can see where my A was, I'm just gonna follow it. But if not, put your letter down and then lift it back up, and it'll leave a little bit of that slurry so you can see where you need to score. And then firmly press it down, gently but firmly. Kind of make sure all that water and air is coming out. And then that damp brush to smooth off all our extra slurry that's come out and water. Neaten it up nice and clean. It's looking pretty good. Oops. Let's smooth over now with the sponge. Any extra nuggies we're taking off. All right, one last letter here. I'm going to, again, you can see where the D was, because it was just sitting there waiting. If it's churned nice and patiently, score. And again, make that into a little bit of a slurry with a little bit of water. And then I can see where my D was. Scoring just helps the clay and the slurry to have a place to sit with the water, so that when we put it on, it doesn't slide off. It gives some friction. It gives us a much better bond, because if we just attach it, there's always a chance that it could pop out in the firing, and we want it to be firmly attached, right? Okay, so again, smoothing over all the extra slurry, making sure it's good and attached, and then just a once over with the sponge until you're happy with it. All right, so you have the option now to leave it as is, or add some more decorations. If you have stamps, you could use stamps. If your dad likes certain things, like my dad is a handy mechanical kind of guy who does a lot of fixing up of things, so I might want to put like a hammer on there. So taking my extra clay, I could make a handle for my hammer just by rolling it and pressing it into the shape that I want. And I can use my kebab stick and cut off the end. And then maybe I'm making a hammer here. So what does a hammer look like? I have to think about that. I'm not a handy person that way. You probably know better. But maybe, I don't know, kind of hammer. Kind of has a big round end on the end, right? The part that hits. So maybe I want to make a little ball on the end. I don't know. This is not looking like a hammer. looks more like a hockey stick. So maybe your dad likes hockey. Let's make it into a hockey stick. Something I do know the shape of a hockey stick. Smooth it into the shape you want. Or maybe he's a sports guy and he likes baseball and hockey and maybe basketball and football. Whatever shapes, maybe he's a fisherman and you want to make a fish. You know, just as long as it's thin. So that's my hockey stick. What do you think? It's not bad for just winging it here, right? Okay, so I'll place that on there. Maybe I'm gonna put that there. So maybe we're going with the sports theme now. Forget the hammer and stuff because, you know, it's a little more technical for me. So maybe Dad is a soccer fan or a basketball fan, so I can make a ball. But we don't want to put the whole ball on. So what we can do is just cut it in half with your kebab stick and shape it back to round. And actually, maybe it should be a little bit bigger because compared to the hockey stick, we might want it to look more like a basketball or a soccer ball, which is a lot bigger than the hockey stick, right? There, that's better. That's more a ball shape, right? And either cut a little off because we don't want it too thick and shape it back to your round. However you get there, that's good. So there's my ball. It probably still could be bigger, but you know, you get the idea. You can do what you want. Soccer. Oh, baseball. We can make a baseball bat. So baseball bat's kind of another coil where it's thinner at one end, right? And a little more thicker at one end and round. And needs a good handle, right? Join those together. Scoring is good. But it just kind of goes narrow. And then it goes out a little fatter, so maybe I need a little thicker on this end. A little more clay. Add it in till it becomes my shape of a baseball bat. I know you're probably laughing at me at home here because, you know, I'm just kind of winging it. I didn't think this too far through. You guys will do a much better job than me because you're going to have time to think it out. And then chop off the end a little. And then sometimes baseball bats have, like, you know, tape around them, right? To give you grip, so you could draw on some tape. It's been a while since I've played baseball. All right. So it could be my baseball bat. And of course, the ball. You need a ball to go with the bat, right? Hey, we need a puck to go with our hockey stick too. So I'm just gonna make a little ball here to go with my baseball. Oops, fingernail got in the way there. Anytime you make a little boo-boo, just smooth it off. There we go. So a little puck to go with our hockey stick too, right? Okay. Little puck. All right. So now I've positioned everything the way I think it should look. I'm going to go ahead and score and add everything on. So score, score, a little bit of slurry, a little bit of slurry. Twist and turn till it's attached. And smooth off our edges. Okay. And again, because I set it down and it's a little bit damp, it left a little outline, so saving me a step. I think the stick needs a little length on the end, so I'm going to add a little more to my handle. And I mean, we can paint on the tape, the hockey tape too. or we can engrave it. It's up to you. Can't go wrong. This is your one-of-a-kind creation. So whatever you decide is fine. I think Dad or Grandpa or your favorite uncle is just going to be happy that you thought about something that interests him and you thought of him for Father's Day. Okay. Attach, slip and slide till it starts to resist. Here we go. Smooth it all off. Use your brush to catch all the extra slurry. It's all coming together. Our baseball. A little bit on where the ball's gonna go. There we go. Oh. My nails are getting in the way again. And the bat. Now, if you do score a little too much in your attachment, your add-on does not cover all your little marks, just smooth over again with your brush or your sponge, your finger, whatever it takes to give you a nice smooth finish. We want to do a good job now so that when we get it back to paint, it's just perfectly the way you want it. And it's not rough. Okay. How's it looking? What do you think? Perfect for the sports fanatic dad? You know, maybe your dad's a golfer, you want to put on golf clubs and a golf ball, whatever you decide. So in order for this to be a wall plaque to hang, we want to add some holes, and we want to make sure that we're careful not to put them too close to the edge, but not too far down either. So you can do one of two things. You can, I'll show you on this little piece of clay here. You can, if you have a straw, use a straw, push down, twist and pull up, and that'll leave you a little hole. You want to make sure the hole is big enough, so you might want to use a fatter straw. This is a thicker straw. That gives a nice clean hole. If any noogies come up, just smooth off on both sides. The other way to do a hole if you don't have a straw is to use your skewer, your kebab stick, press down with the flat side, and draw a little circle. And you draw until it's the right size that you want. And again, these little edges you want to smooth over with your fingertip so that they're not sharp when you're putting your cord through there to hang it. So eyeball your plaque and see where your holes should go. And choose the size of hole you want. So I'm thinking this side can go here and then around here on this side. Smooth off those edges. And on the back as well, you want to smooth off those edges. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of these plaques coming back for Father's Day, and you don't want to get someone else's plaque back. So using your kebab stick with the pointy side, just gently engrave, just gentle, your name. You might want to put the year. You might want to say, I love you, Dad. Whatever you want to do, this is your chance to do that on the back. We for sure need your initials or something to identify it as yours when you bring it back for firing. All right. So that is a simple Father's Day plaque. Perfect for the sports fanatic dad. Your dad is he has a favorite animal like turtles, or he likes to go fishing, or he's a fixer-up guy, a mechanic of some sort. You know, maybe he's a crafty, likes to build, whatever his hobbies are or whatever, keep those in mind when you're coming up with how you want to decorate your plaque. This is a blank canvas, so whatever you want to put on there. You could also leave it completely plain and paint all your details on. Whichever route you decide, this is your way to personalize something one of a kind for Dad. So next step is to let this dry. It's good if you have an old piece of drywall or something that you can put it on to dry. I have a piece of drywall that I will lay it on, and because it's got details on it, I don't want to put another board on top because it'll squish some of my details. I go ahead and made myself some what we call weight bags, and I just took an old sock and I filled it with some plain kitty litter, and I can place that on top, and that'll help keep my plaque from curling while it's drying. You can check it in a day or two, and once it starts to firm up, then you can lift off the weight and let it continue drying. It takes about a week for them to dry, and then you want to bring them back to the studio to have them fired up. So give yourself lots of time. I suggest before you even begin, take a piece of paper and just start doodling and brainstorming what you might want to put on your plaque, because that sometimes, having a plan, something to look at while you're designing, helps to move your project along without having to squish and reshape. So there you have it. The clay will go into the kiln for firing, and then once it's fired, you have two options. You can use an acrylic paint to paint your project and put a sealer over top if you want to be a bit shiny, or you can go the fired route again. We'll put some paint together for you. You can paint it up and then bring it back in for firing, and we'll fire again. So you want to allow yourself a week for firing, and we'll get them all fired up, and then you can decide how you want to hang it. Do you want to use ribbon? Do you want to use wire? Do you want to use wire and beads? Sky's the limit, however you decide. This is the perfect gift for Dad for Father's Day. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and if you have any questions, just reach out to Tanya at Ceramics Canada, and I will be sure to get back to you and help you complete your project. Thanks everyone. Have a colorful, creative day.